And happy Tuesday, June 6, 2023, and welcome to a brand new edition of what I like to call the Isolation Cabin. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Kurt Cadet, in the flesh as always. And here on the Isolation Cabin, I like to talk about the different forms isolation takes on, whether it be positive or negative, the effects it has on us and our mental health, and what we can do to have a better handle on it, to have a better quality of our lives going forward. So this week I want to get into a specific topic that I know is difficult for a lot of us in the social media times we're living in now, where it's very easy to become enemies with random strangers and get into heated arguments with random strangers about your differences in politics, your differences in whatever the biggest news story is at that set moment. And I'll be the first one to admit there is a lot of things that people do say about these set topics that is a big turn off, and that I can understand being upset about and understand not wanting to associate yourself with those set people. I understand that 110%. But whether it comes to that, or whether it comes to a situation where you were actually done wrong by someone, whether it be a family member, whether it be a spouse, whether it be a coworker, what have you, the worst thing you can do when you hate something or hate someone and have those kind of feelings towards them is when you allow yourself to turn into them. What I mean by this is when you allow whatever dislike, whatever hatred, whatever bad feelings you have towards a given situation, a given person, when you allow it to over time turn you into a cold person yourself. And when you over time turn into the very thing you're trying to fight against. It's when you do that, when you allow yourself to become like the things you hate the most, that you let those very things win. And that's probably the biggest tragedy of it all. No matter what the situation may be, no matter what you may be dealing with, as bad as it may suck, it sucks even more when you allow that situation and allow those people involved in it to change you for the worse. It happens all too often. It happens in relationships. It happens with the way kids are brought up. It happens in the political climate we live in now. It gets to the point where people become so consumed with the hate and the hard feelings that they have towards whatever it may be, that over time they just end up losing themselves. It gets so out of hand, it gets so out of control that they start doing those same things that they despise in that other person the most. Like, for instance, let's say someone grew up with parents who were abusive to them, who were shitty to them, didn't look out for them, abused them physically, verbally, whatever have you. The worst thing that kid can do is to grow up, have kids of their own, and be the same way that their parents were. Where they become abusive, where they don't take care of their kids the right way, they neglect their kids. Not only does that keep generational curses continuing on, but that person also allows their parents, their piece of shit parents, to get the best of them by turning out just like them. And as sad as it is to go through that scenario and deal with that, and have to grow up that way, it's even sadder when you don't do something to fix it, and then over turn keep that cycle going on, and then there's never any stop to it. I've learned a lot about generational curses growing up, and I'm thankful that I did, because now that I'm older, I do realize that that shit is for real, and the biggest reason why it is for real is because people end up becoming just like the things they despise the most. And the sad part about it is that they don't even realize it. And if they ever do, it's too late. Also, another place it happens is in relationships. Well, let's say, for instance, you were somebody who was cheated on and not treated right by their ex, and treated more like property and treated more like they were just, exposable, as opposed to being valued and being appreciated. Just like the example I used with the parents, the worst thing that person can do that went through that experience is when they had their next relationship, to turn around and become just like those people that did them wrong in those past relationships, where they become abusive, where they become horrible communicators, and even worse, when they go as far as to even cheat on their significant other. The reason why, from what I've learned, people will usually do this and become the asshole in the next relationship is to protect themselves from getting hurt by that next person, so that before that other person can hurt them, they can hurt them first. It's sad, but unfortunately it happens. People can be so scared and so anxious of having that done to them again and having to go through that again that they'll go as far as to be that person who does it first, so they could save themselves from that kind of hurt. But when they do that, the thing that they do is that they're causing that same hurt that they went through onto someone else who had nothing to do with what they went through in the first place. And that's the sad thing, is that we take the hurt that we felt from somebody else or from a past generation, and instead of stopping it and realizing that it's wrong, we pass that hate and pass those bitter feelings on to someone else. Someone else who probably meant well by us, someone else who wanted to be a positive part of our lives, and someone else who more than anything just had nothing to do with whatever hurt and whatever bad situations we went through in the past. And that's horrible when you punish another person who's completely innocent for something they did not do. That is not right. And also, when you behave that way, you're giving your piece of shit ex even more power over you than they already have by becoming like them. Because you may think you're protecting yourself, you may think that you're helping yourself by doing this, by acting this way, but the only thing you're doing is making this world an even worse place than it has to be. And just being one more piece of shit person in this world than we really need. And with all the piece of shit people we do have in this world, the last thing that we need is another one. And hey, it's understandable to not like someone and to have certain feelings towards a certain someone or a certain situation that happened to us. People may rob us, people may neglect us, people may abuse us, people may treat us badly in whatever way, shape, or form it is. And it's okay to not like those people. It's okay to have certain feelings towards those people and not want to have anything to do with them, and just straight up have no good feelings for them whatsoever. That is completely cool. But what's not okay is when you don't learn from that behavior and learn from those people, and then you turn around and adapt their behavior into your own. That shit is wrong. And one major place I saw it was the presidential election that took place in 2020. I am not a fan of Donald Trump. I haven't been a fan of that dude for years. The Central Park 5 case alone was a reason enough for me to dislike that dude. And the stance he had on it, I will never be a fan of that dude just off of that alone. There was a lot to not like about the dude. There's a lot of shit about him that is a huge turnoff and that would make you like cringe at ever even considering being a fan of his. But the thing that started to bother me after a while was that a lot of those people who were so obsessed with hating Trump and so obsessed with getting him out of office that over time, I saw it myself, they also started to become the assholes. They also started to become the unbearable, unreasonable ass people that a lot of the Trump supporters were, admittedly. Because I said it before and I'll say it again. In 2016, the hardcore Trump supporters who would ignore all the negative stuff that would come out about him and all the negative stuff that he was accused of, a lot of them were the villains in that election. But in 2020, all the people who were obsessed with hating Trump to the point where they would give people like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton a pass for anything they got accused of or anything they got, any negative shit they got caught up in, and like they would get mad at you for even bringing up that stuff, they in a way also became the villains. And you want to know why they became the villains? Is because they became just like what they hated the most. Because they could talk the I hate Trump stuff all they want, but if their behavior is also showing hate to people who just simply voted for Trump and they're not even racist or anything like the stereotypical Trump supporter would be, but they just simply hate them anyway just for that, then they're not any better. They're not any better by expressing that kind of behavior and expressing that kind of attitude. Because I literally saw a post during that whole election where one person said, if you voted for Trump, I hope you die. When you say shit like that, you display that your behavior and your mentality is no better than they are. And that's the thing. When you become just like what you hate and adopt those mentalities and those behaviors into your own daily life, then you lose twice. And it sucks to lose. No matter what anybody tells you, it does suck to lose. But when it's a double whammy that way, that shit is hard to recover from, hard to bounce back from. And like I said before, I get it. A lot of people throughout our lives have done us wrong, have screwed us over, have been assholes to us, and have done shit to turn us off and make us not even want to associate with them. That's fine. But don't allow them to get the better of you, and don't allow them to win in general by letting them turn you into something that you're not. That shit is for the birds. Yeah, because the way you rise above their bullshit and the way you overcome whatever they throw at you and the way that you progress further is by not letting them change you. Not letting them turn you into the piece of shit that they are just so they could say they have power over you. Because when you realize the shit they do is wrong, the way they go about things is wrong, and that you don't want to keep that cycle going, that's the real road to recovery. That's the real road to progress. And that's the real road to better things. And I guarantee you, those better things you would have coming to you on that road will be a lot better and make you a lot happier than holding on to some anger, holding on to some resentment, and letting all that bullshit turn you into something that you do not want to be. And I'm telling you from experience, choosing that path, choosing the happy path, the path where you know good things are on the way, you will win every single motherfucking time. And I've said this on this podcast before, and I will say it again, and I'll probably say it in weeks to come. There is too much damn good in this world to waste it and squander it on some negative bullshit and allowing that negative bullshit to make you a worse version of yourself. And I know it's not easy, and I know it's challenging to deal with all those feelings and to have to go through all those feelings and all that. But when you make the choice to rise above it, rise above the people you despise, rise above the haters, rise above the people who did wrong by you, then that's how you prove that you're better than them. You don't prove it by trying to hurt them. You don't prove it by trying to get even with them or becoming like an asshole like they are. You prove it by rising above them. Because when you rise above them, that only makes you bigger and that only makes them look even smaller. But at the end of the day, the most important thing should be less about making them look bad and more about making yourself look good and also feel good. And you're not going to feel good by allowing what some asshole did to you or what some shitty boss did to you or what some shitty ex did to you make you become just like them. And then you turn around and treat other people the same way they treated you. That shit is nowheresville. That shit is whack sauce. And as I said a few minutes ago, that shit is for the birds. So I urge you, if you're dealing with that kind of hate, that kind of resentment, those kind of hard feelings, it's okay if you do feel that way, but it's not okay to allow those feelings and allow all those feelings of resentment to turn you into an asshole yourself. There's a much better path, much better way, and one that will get you to where you'll need to be. And one that'll help you make the world a better place as opposed to a shittier one. Well, that's all the time I have for you guys today here on the Isolation Cabin. And as I've said before, I am not a licensed doctor or therapist, but I do have experience in my personal life with a lot of these situations. So I do use this platform to express that so I can help out anybody else who may be going through those situations and in the hopes that they can get through it a lot easier than I did. And if you ever want to talk to me about any of this, and have a conversation or link up, you can follow me on any of my social media pages, my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Look up my first and last name, Kurt Cadet. Also, you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Spreaker, as well as YouTube. Leave a comment on any of the episodes and let me know what you like about them, what you don't like about them. And for a long time to come, I will be here talking about this issue of isolation, among other issues concerning mental health, the effects it has on us, and what we can do to have a better handle on it so we can have a better quality of our lives in the future. So until next time, this is Kurt Cadet for another edition of the Isolation Cabin, and I will see you guys next week. God bless, be good, and don't be an asshole. Take care.